one thing to remember in the real estate business: a higher percentage doesn't always mean more money. I know by definition, a higher percentage usually means more money, but in certain situations, a higher percentage means less. Let me explain. In real estate, there's different ways to make money, right? You could either list a property, you could do an ovation type of deal, you could do a subject to type of deal, you could wholesale the deal, you can buy the deal, fix and flip the deal, right? A listing, typically you get about 2% of the deal, right? Now, when you actually look at the bigger picture, 2% is not really a lot of money, considering that you could sell $1 million property and you'll probably make anywhere from $13,000 to $17,000 when you break down all the fees, broker fees, realtor fees, closing costs, etc., right? Now, if you work directly with an investor as myself, and let's say I get a deal, and even if I make $300,000 and I pay you 10% of that 300, you're making $30,000 versus us as a whole collectively making $13,000 to $17,000. And then if you get 25% of that, you're only making about $3,250, which is not a lot of money. So let me give you another analogy. Would you rather get 10% of a watermelon or 25% of a strawberry? Now, percentage-wise, 25% might sound good, but 25% of a strawberry is still a lot less than 10% of a watermelon, correct? Can we all agree? So the moral of the story is that you can make a lot more money working with somebody like myself, who's an investor, who actually can make a lot less, but at the same time make a lot more percentage-wise, versus you listing something for a lot higher and thinking you're going to make more money when you're actually not as direct with the seller. Once you have 2 or 3 or 4 hands in the cookie jar, you're not making as much money as you think. But sometimes you can actually have 2 or 3 hands in a cookie jar. But if the transaction is big enough, then everybody can eat off the pie. As long as you're happy with your cut, everybody else is happy with their cut, then you could do what's called a joint venture. So do not stick to one method. In real estate, sometimes less is more and sometimes more is less. So always remember that. And sometimes it's the opposite. More is less and then less is more. So always remember that. You know, sometimes less means less, sometimes more means more. But in certain situations, more means less and sometimes less means more. I know it's confusing. You can pause it, you can rewind it, and then you'll get the clue. So the point that I'm making is, do not limit yourself to one strategy. And a lot of you guys out here claim to be investors, but then you call yourself wholesalers. Once an investor who's actually serious about selling and wants to sell you an asset, sell you a property, and you say, hey, I'm a wholesaler, you're going to scare them away. So try to find a creative way to call yourself something that doesn't sound like you're going to lowball them and get the property for free on a fire sale or fire deal. So long story short, short story shorter, you got to partner up with somebody who knows the business, who's not grimy, who's not going to switch terms on you, and who's not going to do you dirty later on down the road. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and drop your comments. If y'all want more, shoot me a DM or leave a comment. Peace and love.